As COVID cases rise in China, so does the level of anger that's been directed towards the authorities who continue to implement these very strict measures in this seemingly never-ending quest to stamp out the virus. Now, videos circulating on social media have shown people taking to the streets to protest against the zero COVID strategy. We've seen protests taking place in Shanghai, a city itself which suffered an extremely tough lockdown earlier this year. People have been out demanding an end to restrictions, calling for more freedom, and some were even heard asking for Chinese President Xi to resign from office. And that's something that's extremely unprecedented in China, where this type of protest is very rare. Now, people are obviously very fatigued and frustrated as these restrictions continue. China was the first country to implement such measures at the start of the pandemic, and they have gone on throughout. But there's one particular incident that has sparked a lot of anger. It happened in the capital of the Xinjiang region at the end of last week, when 10 people were killed in a fire in an apartment block. And many people are now asking whether or not their lives could have been saved if it wasn't for COVID restrictions, or at least concerns over breaking potential COVID restrictions. This is something that officials in the city have denied, but it's worth noting that that part of China has seen very tough restrictions over the last couple of months. And it's not just Shanghai where these protests have taken place. We've also seen reports of protests in Beijing, and the capital at the moment is facing a surge of cases, or at least in relative terms in China. There's a couple of localized lockdowns, and there's been people panic buying at shops over concerns of a wider lockdown. And it's somewhat of a pivotal moment now for the government with their zero COVID strategy. As cases continue to climb every day, do they double down? Do they try and stamp out the virus, lock down harder? Or do they admit that they cannot control it anymore and they have to slowly reopen? But that is something that public health experts have said could be a disaster in China. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the government respond to these protests and whether or not they implement any changes to the way they are handling the pandemic at the moment. Reporting from Singapore, Adam Hancock for TICKER News.